Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
I'd love to talk about more credible cases of sightings or encounters, or at least ones that you think are credible. I'm particularly interested in stories where the accounts are from military personnel or educated folks. Someone who's not really the UFO type, if that makes any sense. The Tehran incident is pretty fascinating. I don't think we hear enough about UFO sightings in that corner of the globe. Even in the last few years, the Iranians have reported odd craft near their power plants and military installations. I'm sure there's a large chance that these newer UFO sightings there are drones, but the original weirdness from 1976 is beyond fascinating. Please share any cases, stories that interest you. I actually have a small story from when I was on a school trip to Mexico City in the 8th grade. I'll greentext this. Be me, 8th grade edgelord. Be not me, 3 middle-aged American teachers, 1 Mexican teacher, 24 or so classmates. We had just gotten a room at a motel deep in the city, safe 1-2 according to the MITZU. The room I got was with most of my friends and an annoying kid named Derek. We were all rowdy from the drive, obviously not sleeping. The room was one with a little balcony-ish thing. Not all that large, more like an alcove with a window you can easily lean out of. Friends and Derek tire themselves out. I'm an insomniac and I haven't taken melatonin on this trip yet, so I'm wide awake. Playing on DS for a few hours, but it goes dead sometime around 3 in the morning. Fec.mpeg. Put it on charge and pace around the room trying to make myself tired. Get out of breath because I was a fat ass. Sit in the alcove balcony window THNG. Notice it's unusually dark out for a city. Touch window thinking there's a curtain or something. Nope, just glass. Confusion.wv. Open it up. Suddenly there's one really bright red light outside the window. Oh shit.vi. Everything is a blur for a few minutes, but this is where the aliens come in. Wake up in a weird room. Best way I can describe it is like the back rooms of a large retail store, but everything is really shiny metal. In some kind of sleep paralysis. Laying on a metal slab, clearly not designed for a human body. Feel something get jabbed into my back. Vision starts pulsing. Feel sick. Body starts feeling floaty. Between the flashes of my vision going pitch black, I see weird figures moving around the room. Very spindly, kind of like lobsters on 2 legs too, but with brown skin, shells, whatever. Eventually sickness subsides, everything else remains. Tall, white-skinned humanoid approaches me. Clicks at me incoherently. Groan in response. Clicks at me even more. Groan again, not being able to understand it. I remember vividly I couldn't speak, I could only make groaning sounds like my vocal cords were just not being allowed to work properly. It touches my throat. I immediately begin to make vocalizations, but very involuntary. I wasn't in control of my own voice box. Taps on something, kind of like a clipboard but not made of wood at all, looked more like glass. Clicks again. Walks off. Vision starts pulsating even harder. Can barely see anything. Feels like the world is running in 15 FPS. Feel something tightly grip my sides. Try to scream, frozen. Immediately, like a smash cut, suddenly I'm sitting in my bed at the hotel room, screaming. Not like I just started screaming, but I was mid-scream. Finn.
Well, okay. Be me. Driving from San Francisco to Reno with Buddy in the middle of a plague pandemic, like July 20th, 20. On the I-80 between Lake Spalding and the Lake Valley Reservoir. Very few cars on the road as it's about 3 a.m. and July 20th, 20. The car in front of us rounds the bend. Car behind us is behind the last bend. See something that resembles a semi-truck driving on an overpass go over the freeway. Is just above the trees surrounding the road. Think literally nothing of it. Friend is like, dude, do you see that? Suddenly realize that this semi-truck has way too many reflectors on it. Suddenly realize that the reflectors seem to be lighting up, fading out without any stimuli. As we drive under the spot where the truck should have been, there's absolutely nothing for a truck to drive on. Something literally hovered over the fucking freeway in front of us. Something that was disguised to appear to be a semi-truck. Something that looked so vaguely similar to a normal vehicle that my chimp brain didn't even register that I should be paying attention to it. And that's my story.
I've never posted this story or really told anyone, but here it goes. Be me, 18 years old. Just got my first car, 1989 Toyota Celica. Usually a night person, so only drive at night. Live in a relatively small town, 40,000 people. 3 a.m. driving on Main Street. Driving past middle school, high school in sight. Look over to high school and look at the sky above it. Weird, eerie light that I'd never seen before. All of a sudden green orb literally falls down from the sky, almost like it was shot out from space. Press on the gas and speed over there thinking it was a meteorite. Those are worth money. It looked like it fell in a really rural part of town, Cherry Valley. Drive over there, pass ex-girlfriend's house and notice her front porch light is off, literally always on cause coyotes hate light or something. About that time I notice every light is off in Cherry Valley. Think to myself, it's like an EMP went off. Right as I think that, my car turns off. Decide to get out and walk less than a quarter mile from where I saw the orb-looking thing fall. Walk over this hill and to find the orb sitting in a field, spinning really fast, kicking out dirt like a helicopter would. Decide to throw a rock and it's instantly ricocheted right back at me. Missed it by that much. JPG. For whatever reason I think to myself, I wonder if it's hot. Start walking towards it and feel an intense heat. All of a sudden it lets out a really loud screech and launches back into space, never to be seen again. Noped out of there back to my car turned on with no problem and the lights were all back on everywhere. I went back there the next day when it was light out, literally no sign that anything had touched this field of dried up grass. Drive by it all the time and think about that moment.
Aliens are not as superior as they want to make us believe. That's why they hide. That's why they clean memories using drugs that do not even work well on us. Aliens developed in millions of years the technology and ideologies we have developed in just a few centuries. Most of their tech has been stolen by each other. Even if we find they gave us some technology, human development on top of it is exponential and unbeatable, unlike their lineal development. We have even developed technology in ways they never imagined or expected to use until millions of years later, like developing white LEDs. I expect that some technology we have is being used in ways they never imagined, and I wonder if they are just watching to steal it. This does not mean we are smarter. We are not smarter in many cases, but we do have quantum imagination that they don't have as individuals, but maybe as species. We can foresee branches of parallel realities that they cannot even comprehend, so we only think in what we intuitively know will work, so we develop faster. This is also the reason they would never start a war with us to exterminate us. We are a threat. It would expose their technology, and we could use it easily against them and dominate all their worlds. Also, we know intuitively the reality branch where we win. That's why they use other human groups to subvert us. That's how I know this, and every day I know more. Wonder why they are so desperate to create hybrids. That's the reason, because they are genetically obsolete and they know this and express it as genetic problem that humans can fix. If they were as good as they claim, they would admit this, but they are not morally better than us as a species. They are able to hate, envy, and love as much as us, but not as individuals, but as groups. That's why they claim their worlds are peaceful utopias. They are just as boring as they claim, except when interacting with others. Aliens know that if we reach their technology and develop from there on, we will dominate the universe in a few centuries. That's why they need to keep everything in secret and hide their existence except for sneak peeks to produce fear and make us feel inferior. The same reasons aliens claim to hate us, like war and conflicts, are also the same features that make us special as humans. You cannot take those things away and still have humans. The thing they hate and love the most about us is that contrast, and they know that is power. Again, aliens have no personality. Their personality is their species as a collective consciousness. That's why human collective consciousness is so high. That's why psychology is always wrong. We are always evolving, fast, so even our experiments fail. That's why aliens keep experimenting on us. Put in another way, each human being has as much personality and individuality as a whole alien species. We can speculate that maybe each human is an alien species from another universe concentrated in an individual human. Maybe that's why they claim that Earth is so special for their purposes. Finally, humans also have superior aesthetics. Their spaceships are ugly as hell. Their cities are boring monochromatic cities. Even Haiti is more colorful and desirable than their worlds, not because they are poor or sick. They are not, but because nothing ever happens until their star explodes or is attacked by another species, which is very rare. However, as humans, we should understand them and love them. Maybe we can help them be a little like us if they just stop hiding. Maybe we can help them create good hybrids. No need to have war with them, even if it is unavoidable by our nature and the facts. Even the evil aliens are just evil as a species. Individuals are just cells of their bad adaptation. Aliens are terrified of humans taking over the universe, and that's how they measure the superiority of a species, by the rate they develop. They are envious and terrified of us, and they should.
Grew up in Arizona desert. People don't realize how weird shit gets out there. Friends and I would camp out there and guaranteed we'd hear at least a few weird things or see some shit. Don't want to say we got used to it, but we weren't not used to it at the same time. Have a ton of stories, but this one fits the thread theme. Anyway, sometime in early high school we decide to go out and camp during the long weekend. Parents are all used to it, don't really care. Pack up and hike out into friends' property, which is massive. Get to our usual camping spot and notice it's trashed. Not like litter, but the shit itself looks like a tornado went through it. Figure maybe it was a big dust devil. There's weird scorch marks in the dirt. Pieces of rock almost look melted together. We figure it must have been big fireworks. There's kind of a weird smell in the air, but it's easily ignored. We decide to stay. We build a fire pit. Everything is fine until the sun goes down. Then we start hearing shit. Sounds like really raspy mumbling. None of us have heard anything like it before, so we're all kind of on alert. Sound is getting closer, seems to be moving in a circle around camp. None of us are armed, but one of us has a hunting knife. Doesn't really make us feel safer though. Way too dark to hike back, we're basically stuck out here. Over the course of about an hour, the sound fades and gets louder randomly. The more we listen to it, the more we start thinking it's not really chanting. It's more like that weird humming sound power lines make. Starts to smell like hot sand. Friend with the knife is convinced we're gonna get abducted by aliens or something. Starts freaking out and throwing flaming pieces of wood out into the dark. We're telling him he's an idiot and that it's probably just some weird animal. Then one of the pieces hits something about 50 yards away. Get a brief glimpse of something rust-colored and almost the texture of steel wool. Had that same kind of loopy ribbon look, if that makes sense. Whatever it is definitely not a human or animal. We all start chucking pieces of flaming stuff at it. It doesn't seem to care. Eventually there's enough debris that we can get a better look at it. It was like a squarish stick figure, kind of like those cockapelli things but without the hair. It's made of this shifting rusted wire-looking material. It's letting out that weird humming sound. The ground it touches starts to burn and scorch. Circles the camp a few times like it wants to come closer but doesn't want to get close to the light. We're all peeing ourselves thinking we're about to die. Suddenly it lets out this really loud metallic shriek and flies backward like it's rocket-powered. Everyone flips shit. We leave the gear and sprint all the way back to the car. Peel out. Come back for our stuff like a week later, most of it is burnt. Never camp there again.
This one is an urban legend me and my friends used to listen when we were little. Old woman has fruit garden. Lives by herself, husband died a couple years back, sons are in another city. Lives beside mountain range. He starts calling the police because aliens come down from the mountain and start eating her fruit. Multiple times, every time the police arrives nothing to be found. Screw it, she's crazy, ignore her. One night, screaming and noises from her backyard. Neighbors get weirded out. Go to her house, go around the house into her garden. There they found the old lady standing. Big stick in hand. Literally trying to kill what is described as a weird combination between a praying mantis the size of a big cat and a rat. Nope. JPG. Everyone gets out, old woman dragged by force. Police called, then again, nothing to be found, but this time there are multiple witnesses. Spend rest of the night in the front yard to see if they catch anything. Old lady doesn't stop saying, "I told you," and laughing.
My personal friend and classmate Daniel Trask went missing in 2011. You can see his website here. Link in the description. He was also featured in one of David Pauly's books as one of the cases that fit the cluster. I have been in correspondence with Mr. Pauly's investigators as to give them more in-depth personal information about Daniel. I have known Daniel for over 6 years. He used to steal, party, do drugs. He was not spiritual. He was quite selfish and greedy. He also took my sunglasses and never gave them back to me because he was the cool kid. That is until he had an experience in Elmira and was found in a cornfield in the dark walking aimlessly with no shoes. He was put under psychiatric evaluation and deemed unstable, but after that experience everything changed. He wouldn't talk to anyone. He was silent. He would see 2 dark entities in the corner of his room at all times watching him and throwing off his covers that he had to move in with his brother because he was in so much fear. He gave all the belongings he stole, took from everyone and returned them immediately. He began to live like a hermit, not the jock, popular guy he was. He would grow his own vegetables, refused to go anywhere, refused to carry a cell phone. He became ungroomed. He stopped caring for himself and took shelter in the woods. He gave back my sunglasses finally after 2 years of not seeing them and returned his brother's leather jacket he stole. He gave all his money away and just left on frequent trips to go into the wild. Here is the second part. His brother, a good friend of mine, confided in telling me that Daniel told him he saw strange blue-type orbs coming out of the lakes he walked around and following him on several occasions. They said they keep watching him and that he had 2 encounters with blue beings who told him he has to change his life around or else. He said he did not listen the first time, and maybe that's why those bad entities he began to see in his room began to plague him. However, the strange thing these blue entities told him was that he was one of the chosen ones and that he has a special purpose, which does not make much sense to me, since if these entities were good, why was Daniel able to see the bad ones in his room, or were these bad entities part of a deception? I'm not sure what to think, but that is beyond what the book says about him, considering I am closer to him. Daniel was found this year. Unfortunately, he is deceased. By the way, the link I provided on Dan Trask shows him drawing the Eye of Providence, or the Illuminati Eye, but he called it the Eye of Providence. There is a strong correlation between David Paulide's research and Ted Gunderson's research, who was head of the FBI. I strongly recommend everyone watch their YouTube interviews for further analysis. Thank you for your time.
Be me, 17 at the time. Stayed up with wholesome parent-mandated church friends till almost 4 a.m. Drumming, watching movies, eating a shitload of cold pizza. Absolutely awake, sober and unaltered. Get bored, decide to head home. 30-minute drive through fields and farmland to the suburbs. It's a clear night with a bright moon. I'm driving my old SUV, driving in silence, no radio. Now, I have no idea if this is important or related at all, but along my route is an old abandoned 2-story farmhouse about half a mile from the road. On the road in front of it is a small bridge, under which runs a usually dry creek. The house was deserted after a fire burned most of the roof and half of the top floor about 6 months earlier. Don't know what caused the fire. Anyway, as I approach the bridge near the house, the next part of the Greentext happens all within about 10 seconds as I drive towards and then past the bridge. The road turns a bit and now my headlights are pointing toward the bridge. It's still distant though. I notice something tall. I seem to remember there used to be a tree or something in that general area, so it doesn't strike me as odd. I keep driving closer. The figure appears to be a person coming up the embankment. But there's something off about them. I keep driving closer. I'm close enough to see the figure more clearly. My headlight is hitting it. It's not a human. The figure is like a human, but everything is wrong. The figure is naked, but it is almost entirely gray. There are no features like genitalia. The creature's limbs are abnormally long and impossibly thin. Looking back, I am 100% certain it was not someone in a costume or suit, because a human body cannot fit its limbs or neck into those proportions. Like you'd expect, it has huge black eyes, no nose, and an extremely small mouth. I'm strangely calm as I'm passing the thing. My brain isn't able to comprehend what I'm seeing. I am looking it dead in the eye. It is standing on the edge of the road. There is nothing around it. No strings, no sticks. This is not some puppet. We are staring at each other as I drive closer. It is reaching its arm out to me, its impossibly long fingers wiggling at me. Its tiny mouth is moving. It is trying to get my attention. It wants me to stop. I do not. I am past the thing. I drive home in silence. I feel what I remember now as absolute terror, so much so that it broke me. I was so afraid that I felt nothing at all. Like true, immediate trauma. I remember feeling like it was not safe to walk from the driveway to the house, but my body did so on its own despite my mind begging it not to. I go straight to my room and fall immediately asleep. The next morning it was like nothing happened. I didn't even remember the event, it wasn't on my mind at all. It took me 6 months before the memory came back to me. I think my brain was just incapable of dealing with an event that it could not rationalize. I try not to think about it, because when I do it makes me extremely uncomfortable. I can honestly say I haven't had any strange encounters since, and I am 29 now. Very few people in my life know. I know that my description of the thing sounds like the generic gray alien trope, but I am 100% sure of how it looked. I truly believe it was an alien, though some religious friends have said it was a demon in an alien form. I often wonder what it wants from me. Why was it trying to talk to me? Did it need help? Was it connected in some way to the burned house? I don't know, and I hope I never find out.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentexts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.